We are here with Dr. Stella Rouse and Dr. Mike Hanmer to talk about the Center for Democracy and Civic Engagement. Mike, Stella, thanks so much for meeting today. Do you want to introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about your research interests?
As you said, I'm Stella Rouse. I'm a professor in the Department of Government and Politics, and I'm the director of the Center for Democracy and Civic Engagement. My research interests, broadly defined, focus on identity, looking at identity both within behavior in institutions and then behavior within the mass public. My initial research interest was around Latino politics, and I've expanded that to include other identities like generational identity and race and ethnic identity. And so I look at how all those identities sort of interact to help us better understand how and why people behave when it comes to their political preferences and political attitudes.
And I'm Mike Hanmer, and I study voting behavior, public opinion, political methodology, do a lot of work on voting rights and election reform. In terms of methodology, I work a lot on survey research and field experiments.
Can you tell us a bit more about the Center for Democracy and Civic Engagement?
Sure. So the center really focuses on, bringing citizens together with their government and forging a better relationship with their government, and really helping them see that they have an important and crucial stake in how their government operates, and more broadly in the future of democracy, that democracy just doesn't happen on its own and continue to operate on its own, that it has to be nurtured and has to be cared for. And at the heart of that are people who, are civically engaged and care about those things. And we're trying to instill those values in young people, that's really something important toward the health of our democracy.
Can you talk a bit more about how you instill these values in young people?
Sure. Yeah, give me a hard one. So one of the things is through engagement, right? So letting young people and just everybody in the community know that they can be part of the research process. So one of the big things I've done, especially recently, is working on projects where we're co-creating the research design with the community, and so we have, people from civic groups, we have people who are in elected office, appointed office, and we have community members who weigh in and offer insight. And so we might bring a general idea, and we might have some approaches that we would implement if we were just to do it on our own. But it's part of it is bringing the rest of the community in, not just as research subjects, but as participants and collaborators. And then obviously, a lot of the work we do is informed by and done with students. And so undergraduate students and graduate students, and giving them an opportunity and showing them the research process, and giving them, the ability to work on projects from inception to completion.
Let me add just a little bit to that, because Mike really articulated that really nicely. And I think one of the missions of the center is to translate research into policy solutions, which, I think research has a reputation of being insular and researchers only speaking to one another. And I think what the center is trying to do is really break that stereotype, that we can actually produce research that has real tangible solutions. And I think a big way of doing that is what Mike talked about in terms of bringing in partners, that are in the community and other folks who look at problems from a different perspective than researchers do. And so bringing all those ideas together to produce policy solutions is really an important component of what the center does.
Who else is affiliated with the center?
So we have we've had graduate students that have been affiliated with the center. We currently don't have one, which is sort of a shame. I would love to recruit students to be a part of what the center does and help them with research that has a civic engagement component, which I think a lot of research that students and faculty do does have a civic engagement component, because it's a term that can be pretty broadly defined. But currently we have, I think, 3 faculty members that I would name as being affiliated with the center. Professor Isabella Alcanese, who received a fellowship from the center to do some work on immigrant communities, Casa de Maryland and things like that, looking at the effects of COVID surrounding immigrant communities. And then Professor Sarah Croco also received a faculty fellowship And she is doing some work with survey research stuff and civic engagement among young people. And then Professor Dana Fisher in the sociology department, she and I are collaborating on some work that looks at how social movements were impacted by the death of George Floyd and the events that took place in the summer of 2020, and how different identities come to bear in the social movement post the George Floyd incidents.
What opportunities are there for graduate students to get involved at the center?
So I think one of the biggest ways is through research with the faculty who are doing work in the center, and some of that can be hands-on, as collaborators, and sometimes it's also just helping people make connections or having them help us make some connections. So I'm working with a couple of students now. And part of what they're doing is reaching out to some of the local election officials to collect data. But it's not just collecting data, it's introducing themselves, introducing the department and the center, and letting them know that we're here as a resource. And then certainly, when we co-sponsor events or talks, getting involved with those and having an opportunity to meet with some of the guest speakers or panelists that we're able to bring in.
So I know one of the things that the center does is has a relationship with the Washington Post. Can you talk a bit more about that?
So our relationship is pretty multifaceted and has expanded over the years, which we're very happy about. But the relationship started out with us collaborating and partnering with the Post to conduct polls on the views of Maryland citizens and what issues matter to them. And so we started that partnership by doing a couple polls a year that looked at, what Marylanders were thinking about in terms of things that the legislature should prioritize before it went into session and what issues mattered to them. And then when there were important elections in Maryland, like the gubernatorial election, we would do some of the horse race stuff in terms of polling. But that quickly expanded to polling that looked at, that did national polling and started looking at other issues, particularly issues related to the health of democracy. And then when COVID came along, we had a great opportunity to partner with the Post to do several polls that examined issues related to COVID. And we've now expanded that to add a third poll that looks at sports and politics. We're now collaborating with the Povich Center and the School of Journalism, and we take on issues at the intersection of sports and politics. So a number of polling initiatives that have come about from this relationship, and that has also led to the development or the creation of a Washington Post graduate fellowship program that places a graduate student in the offices of the Post, working directly with the polling folks at the Post to get on-hands experience about how real-time polling occurs, how those polling questions are translated into issues that then articles are written about. And a number of our graduate students who have been fellows have gotten a number of bylines on those stories, which is great exposure and a great and unique opportunity that I think is not available on any other graduate program for a student to get that opportunity. And I'll let Mike expand on a little bit on that, because he has really been hands-on in developing that relationship and developing that fellowship opportunity, and also hands-on on coordinating with the Post to do the polls.
Yeah, I think Stella said it well. He captured everything. But one of the key ingredients is that we want to use that information that we collect, not just for research, but for public outreach and to engage the wider community. And I think the fellowship opportunity allows students to experience a different type of environment, a much more fast-paced environment than is typical in academia. So we get survey data back. I just got some back yesterday. I took a look at it. It might be next week that I look at it again, just because I'm busy with other things. With the Post, they have a schedule. They know when they want to report on it based on when they get the data back, and they need to write those stories and do it quickly. And so all the analysis has to happen within a couple of days. And that's exciting, but it's also, stressful. But you get to see, how a news organization handles that information. And it's a really great way for students, as Stella said, to work up to the point of being able to contribute as a co-author on some of the post stories, which is really exciting, and a very unique opportunity.
How can students learn more about the center and the research projects it's working on?
Well, we have a website, CDCE at umd.edu, and we also have a Twitter account at CDCE UMD. So those are two ways that students can learn about the work that the center is doing and collaborating with. We try to keep the website up to date on the latest things that the center is involved in and the different entities that we collaborate with. Anything that comes out of that, we post on the website. So that's probably, the website's really the main place, but we also promote stuff on social media, on Twitter. So that's another way to stay engaged. And we're happy for as many followers as we can get who are interested in the work that CDC is doing.
What advice do you have for students who are interested in applying?
I think the biggest thing is to do some homework on who we are on the faculty, and make sure that it's a good fit. We don't cover every topic that there is to cover. And so you want to make sure that there's a good fit with your interests, because it's challenging enough in graduate school when you don't have someone to rely on for the expertise in your specific area. It just makes it that much more difficult. And then talk to our students. I've said for a long time that I think our students have really built a collaborative and supportive culture. And we try to create the environment where that can take place, but really the responsibility and the reason it works is mainly because of them. And I think that's one of the great things about our department. I think we try to do that as faculty, but the students have really excelled in being supportive and creating an atmosphere where people feel like they can be confident to express their ideas and know that they'll get honest feedback, and that they're willing to give people honest feedback because they know that's just going to help everybody. It's not a situation where there's a lot of competition, and so that plus the support really goes a long way.
I think Mike said it really well. I agree that doing your homework is important and making sure that your interests are a good fit for what expertise are on the faculty. And I think doing your homework includes more than just looking on the website and getting information from the website. I know that I appreciate when a prospective student reaches out to me and asks me, whether what they're interested in would be a good fit for the department and for the work that I'm doing. So reaching out to faculty, perhaps with some specific questions that we can answer rather than, tell me about Maryland or something like that, right? Would be best, but certainly using the faculty as a resource before even applying is something that students should do.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today to talk about the center and about your research interests. As a fun closing question, what is your favorite part about University of Maryland?
Mike's going to make me go first this time. I know it, just as revenge. So I guess I could answer that question in a lot of ways, but I'm going to answer it in a way that ties into what our conversation has been so far. And my favorite part, I think, about the university, perhaps in general, but more specifically about our department, is that it's a pretty collegial place, right? And not just collegial among the faculty, and not just collegial among the graduate school students, but collegial across graduate students and faculty. And that I think we're really interested in helping graduate students succeed. And most of the faculty puts a lot of time and effort into that, into supporting graduate students, collaborating with them, trying to find ways to help them succeed, whether it's finding funds to support their research, and really caring that they have the tools necessary to the extent that we can provide them to succeed. So I really like that about our department. And maybe a funner answer is that I like Testudo as a mascot. I find it very interesting. I'm on the lookout for a t-shirt that says, Terrapin track team, or because turtles can't run. So I don't know, the irony in that is pretty funny. I still haven't found that t-shirt, but having a turtle as a mascot with a statue in front of the library that students rub and, give gifts to for good luck is always a a fun thing to see. And we're approaching that at the end of the semester, where students just going to be inundated with gifts that it'll never eat or drink, but hopefully it'll bring students good luck during finals.
That's great. Yeah. So I think that one of the biggest things that I like is that all of our faculty really have part of their identity wrapped up in the graduate program. We're at Maryland because we want to be at a place that takes graduate education seriously and takes undergraduate education seriously and believes that you can do both well. And that's just not the case everywhere. And it's not easy to do, but we try to do it, and I think we do it pretty well. And so we know that there's this shared set of values, and that just makes it a lot easier to get your research done, to find people who are willing to help and go out of their way to help solve problems as they come up, whether they're research or funding, whatever it is. And then again, there's a really interesting, I think, culture of support for the University of Maryland. That there are a lot of places with strong school spirit, but there's a real state pride and campus pride that's different than a lot of places. I don't know of any other state that has clothing that is patterned after the state flag and the university colors in the same way. If it's out there, I haven't seen it, and it doesn't look as good. And by good, I mean like tacky good, right? Like it generally doesn't look great, but it's a statement, and it's something that I think people really have a lot of fun with. And a college campus should be an inviting and fun place, and I think a lot of that is built in with that school spirit.
Thank you so much for talking today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to interview us, Jillian.
Yeah, thanks, Jillian.